to the Synthplex 2022 podcast. We've got Mr. Jordan Rudess here with us. Woo!
Hooray!
He just rocked it last night with Mark Bonilla and the Keith Emerson Band. And then today you had a nice, great presentation. You showed a little bit of Geo Shred, and I learned something about Moises.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into that. I didn't announce who I am. My name is Florentino Buenaventura. I am the host of Synthplex 2022, actually just in the Synthplex podcast. And, we're here. We're actually in the green room where all the artists hang out, so I feel the ambiance of all the incredible talents here. So, Jordan, I think this is our 3 years ago we had you on the network. What's been going on, man? We had a pandemic.
Catch up. Wow. Well, so much is going on, just trying to keep everything balanced between my musical life and my technical stuff and all the different things that I do. And, of course, the pandemic was a whole different kind of a chapter for all of us in so many different ways.
But I know you, man. You're like the busiest man in entertainment. You probably had tons of stuff going on during the pandemic.
Well, even though a lot of things did, of course, get canceled, like Dream Theater tours and all that, we were lucky because the bulk of our touring happened before the pandemic, but we did have more to go.
Yeah.
So we definitely suffered from that. But during that period of time, I got very into streaming, and I spent a lot of time working on my studio and getting into video mixers and cameras and all the things that I didn't know as much about that I needed to put together for my presentations. And I started a Patreon, which was pretty interesting. Patreon? So Patreon functioned really well for me during the pandemic. It was it's kind of a cool thing in general because it allows me to kind of focus in on, instead of getting messages from here and there and every social network there is and trying to be responsive, I kind of brought people into one place. Well, I told them, look, I will respond to you, but you kind of got to be in this spot.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Plus the fact that, I really like, interacting with people, and because we couldn't go out and do it, I was enjoying kind of reaching out and playing for people through the magic of the internet. And what happened was that when the whole thing hit and we were all locked down at home, every day I would put my camera down literally on my Steinway piano, and I would just turn on Facebook or something like that and just play. No strings attached, no nothing. But I enjoyed that. It was emotionally very healing for me. It was great. But after a while, I was kind of feeling like, this is I'm digging this, and a lot of people are saying how much they enjoy it. But what am I doing? I'm giving away music for free, and that's not a great message. It's not the best given the what happens with people just basically thinking music is free.
Take it for granted.
So here I am, just I'll play again today. So finally, I thought, let me figure out a way to do this right, where I can do more than just put my phone down on the corner of my piano. I was looking around for a platform, and I discovered this Patreon thing. And then I went and I invested in some really good cameras and some really good lights and a really nice Roland video mixer that I have and some Zoom stuff like a mixer awesome. And all these things.
Are you running it yourself, or do you have somebody running it while you're?
My wife and I, we were basically a little operation there. Yeah, no, we kind of do it, and had a little help putting some of the stuff together certainly and figuring it all out. But after that, I'm in there. Okay, let's get the video mixer going. Let's get the lights go. It's like a thing. It's really pretty fun.
That is awesome. That's good to hear. And I love the Patreon service. Actually, the owner's a keyboard player as well.
Right.
Yeah, he was a Scary Pockets player.
Yes.
So,
Jack Conti. Yeah. And he went to Stanford Karma, where I was an artist in residence too.
Oh wow! So you guys kind of knew each other before all that.
I don't know. No, I mean we've spoken since then, but I didn't know him through the Karma thing. I just found out about that after because I was an artist in residence there, but then found out his history at that place.
Now, are they only doing subscription? And for the folks that don't know, Patreon is basically a subscription service for artists to be able to provide exclusive content and connectivity for a subscription price. And you set your price.
And there's different tiers. I have just the listeners. I think it's I don't know, $5 a month. And then if you want more, if you want to get access to the educational materials, the PDFs and all that, it's like 10. But if you want, and the details, you have to go to my Patreon to check it out. But there's also a level if you want to actually get me on Skype or something like that and talk and get a session, whether it's a lesson or asking questions or things like that.
Yeah, so awesome stuff. Are you doing any products? Because I know a lot of the artists there also sell. I mean, you've got your Geo Shred that's your product, but do you do anything else on there?
As far as selling products on Patreon, not really. No,
Yeah.
this is more like services of what I'll offer. To people.
That's very
cool.
Cool.
So that's a lot of what happened during the whole lockdown thing. But then luckily now Dream Theater's back, and I think I was one of the first artists to go out solo and play, because I was invited to do a bunch of solo concerts, and nobody was really touring. But I felt like, if I go out and I'm by myself, I can structure it in a way that I can be safe and just do it. So I actually went out and did shows really pretty much at the beginning when people were first starting to get out there, and I did solo shows. And then, thankfully, we were able to go out and do some Dream Theater shows as well. And we just finished recently a whole round of touring. We were in South America last. We did some really big, exciting shows.
Yeah, it seems like they're really the live scene almost is better internationally. It seems like. Is that what
South America is incredible for Dream Theater. Like when we play places like, Chile or something like that, it's. I don't know what's in the water there. They just love odd time signatures, and they love Dream Theater, and it's amazing. And actually, what was a real thrill this last South American tour is we played Rock in Rio, which is a huge festival. It's huge. We were a little concerned because we were on after Iron Maiden, which could be looked at almost like a headlining spot, although it wasn't technically headlining because they were. But and we started at midnight. But in Brazil, people don't care if it's midnight or whatever. So everybody stayed, and we played for 100,000 people. It was insane. Wow. And that's one part of it that's kind of, cool. But the cooler part was that when you look out, everybody's engaged. They're all, it's not just that there were that many people there, but they were all so into it, So it was really thrilling. It was great. It's a good opportunity to kind of learn how to be centered and focused and, be kind of like at least try to be on your game while there's all this crazy stuff around you. The other part, and I enjoy sharing this with other musicians and people who have to present and do things in public, which is that you don't know what kind of influences, what's going to happen, like before a speech, before a concert, whatever. Somehow you have to be able to kind of like center and be controlled and all that kind of stuff. So I'm constantly able to kind of almost like work on that, be reminded that that's a lot of what it's about.
Now how do you handle, because you are super personable. Anybody comes up to you, you're kind, you talk to them, but you get 100,000 people coming at you. How do you handle that kind of, intense attraction from other people?
Well, luckily they didn't all need to talk to me. They were in the audience. But, a couple of things. One is to be able to play for that kind of a big crowd and not freeze up and, just play badly. I really practice.
I can't imagine you doing that at all.
Well, what I try to do, what's interesting is I'm like very sensitive normally to like situations and to energies or whatever. So my body will react to stuff. So in a way that could be bad, because then you could walk on stage and freeze up and get really nervous. And, But when I'm home and I'm practicing at the keyboard, I learned kind of later in life, if you will, that I only practice like moving my fingers and the passages that I need to work on, but I also practice memorizing what is the headspace that I want to be in when I'm playing that passage, so I can go back to it. Almost like when people learn like meditation and then they use it in stressful situations. Like I don't know if you ever heard like somebody say, "Oh if you're in a stressful situation, imagine you're like on a beach, and the sun is shining brightly, and just kind of put yourself back in a beautiful spot." For me and my work to be a performer, it's kind of like that, where I'll play like the hardest passage. Maybe I'll just try to breathe really slowly and evenly, meanwhile doing the hardest thing. But I do it so when I walk on stage in front of 100,000 people, I can do that. I can get back to that. Because if I didn't do that and I just practiced the riff, I would fall apart.
Yeah. And with that said, I mean, we before we kicked on the recorder, you were mentioning that the technology side isn't quite as exciting as it once was for you. And I think it's really it's really a part of what you see in the your performance. It's all about the playing. It doesn't matter. You could have the most expensive keyboard, biggest sound system, but for you can just communicate that.
Well, I mean, the music's, I guess I have to clarify that in the sense that the music part is what I'm kind of like all about.
Yeah.
And the reason that I am technical, or that people might see me as being technical, is because since I want these sounds and I want this musical expression and I want things to be organic and flow, I'm attracted to technology because I see an opening there for new kinds of expression.
Yeah.
So whether we're talking about like a Rolly Seaboard or GeoShred or a Linstrument or any kind of thing I can do to generate visuals with my hands, I want that experience to be really fluid, and I'm always looking and thinking about how to make it that way. Okay. So I'm attracted to technology because that's the positive side, the way I see it. I'm not following the path of like just press a button and something happens automatically. And, although I think some AI, composition tools are really cool and I'm not afraid of it, I'm into it. But the bigger picture of that is that I'm interested in technology because of what it offers me as a creative, artist.
Yeah.
But as far as knowing what every button, dial, parameter, does, I don't know, when I was a little younger, maybe I was more into like that.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of pulled back a little bit. And
So
I almost try to put some of that out of my mind.
The Moog walls, you can do without the Moog walls now, where you have to plug a million things in.
I prefer to have something like visual that I can see and touch and feel and kind of, work with technology that way.
The GeoShred is super cool. I encourage everybody that's listening to go look it up and check it out. Watch a bunch of YouTubes with Jordan. It's an amazing instrument. I was super impressed by that when you demoed it for us in that interview we did. But I think one of the funnest performances I've ever seen you do was you took classic rock and made it classical. You were doing that with Al Di Meola. You were doing some opening bits with Al Di Meola. It was fun hearing old metal, but done classically. There's some awesome fun stuff.
Yeah, I like to do that. I remember that tour. Just went out with Al. But we should tell our listeners that GeoShred is an iOS app, right?
True.
So just in case anybody's wondering what that is. But yeah, I mean, my background is piano. I grew up, I was going to be a classical pianist.
Yeah.
And actually interesting, because we're at Synthplex, when I was like 17 or so, somebody brought over the Emerson, Lake and Palmer Tarkus album. And I remember hearing it, and then hearing it again and again, and thinking, oh my God, what's going on there? Like, the keyboard has so much power. Like, to me, it was like this awakening that you could have like the rock energy, but from a keyboard with really cool chords, not just the usual like power chords in a guitar or anything like that. All of a sudden I'm hearing like sus chords, like these things, the Emerson sound, and I'm going, wow, I kind of know those chords, but I never knew that you could kind of put it in that kind of strength and might, so that was an amazing awakening. And now, of course, with Synthplex, last night I played Tarkus with the Keith Emerson Band and Mark Bonilla, and I'm basically partly here because, I feel almost like an honor and responsibility to keep that
legacy
alive. It's so important to me. And if I can share that with other people and enjoy
the energy
of that.
in the room was amazing last night. I wish all of you guys here were listening here. We're here. Hopefully next year at Synthplex we do something similar or something fun like that. But it was just awesome.
It was cool. Yeah. I mean, I've been telling some friends that it's really funny just walking on stage and just playing Tarkus out of the blue. There was a lot of other artists, and ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Rudess, and then okay, am I warmed up? Did I play something more simple before I broke into Tarkus? Usually, when you're creating a set list, you start off with something just to get in the flow. My solo shows, I'll come out, I'll improvise a little, and dabble, and then eventually I'm playing, some crazy stuff, but. Just jumping into Tarkus was intense and actually a little thrilling. It kind of like once I settled my brain down while I was playing, I used it as kind of like an energy booster instead of allowing it to like control me and mess up.
Yeah.
You know, the first couple of, I don't know, the first part of the song, I was like, oh, I'm not playing as well as I want to. And then I like caught my breath, you know, and then, okay, calm down. Yeah. You're gonna got to kind of talk to yourself during these situations.
And it was in quad, so versus normal front of house stereo, you got the keyboards, different things coming out of different.
That must have sounded really cool.
It was.
I was in the audience. I just had my monitors kind of like blaring. At me.
Yeah, and you get what you got. Good. You know, that's going to give you what you need to listen to for the performance. But yeah, the quad was amazing because you're hearing the spectrum come out of all those different speakers with the keyboards. So it was super fun.
Keyboards. Good.
So you've been a part of Synthplex. We've had 2 years now. People that haven't been able to attend yet, what would you like to share with them about Synthplex? Because it's really about a community, a family of incredibly passionate synth players and electronic music creators.
Well, first of all, I wasn't at the original one.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
I was not, but I'm super excited to be here, and I already, even before I even enter the room with all the people, and so many of them are friends, and, you know, just people I know from the business, I'm so excited about it because I feel like it's a filtered NAMM or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like our world, our synthesizer world, and there's nobody else around, so it's going to be a great chance to kind of like focus on the products and the people, and I think anybody who's into synthesizers, oh my God, you have to come to Synthplex. I mean, I came here because I'm not on tour, and you know, I was invited to do Tarkus, and I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
It's important to me.
So. Well, I think you are. I mean, I get a chance to know the numbers, and anytime a Jordan Rudess post goes out, we get crazy 100,000, 160 views on these things. So I appreciate it being running the marketing. It really helps get awareness out there, and you know, I think that's important that people realize that their heroes are here, but beyond that, different than NAMM. NAMM, it's only industry, and even if you're a musician, you have to either be a retailer or a manufacturer or a press. But here, anybody can come as long as they get a ticket, which is super cost effective. It's only $99 for 4 days. Okay. So you got all these kind of talents that are changing the world with their creation to do that, and I think that's important. But I think most important is, like you said, these are people. It's a community. It's really, I've seen that a lot with drummers, and
I think well, that's the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, guitarists, drummers.
Guitarists usually have a tendency to want to do their own thing,
but they get together in groups.
They do.
Like Petrucci, my guitarist in Dream Theater, Joe Satriani. They all have like their camps.
They do,
and they do really well. It's really hard to do that in the keyboard world. We're more used to like, thinking about dials and buttons and stuff like that, not so much about the other person.
And usually you only have one of you in a band. Right. You might have two guitar players. I've even seen two drummers.
None, right? I mean, in rock, the keyboard is not, doesn't get the attention that it deserves.
Keith Emerson, there's a handful that are there in rock. Obviously, in other different forms, there's jazz. There's a lot.
Of course, and also keyboardists and synthesists are very much involved in creating film scores.
That's why we have a lot of those folks here. John Powell's going to be coming up, doing a presentation, and he's done everything from the Born Identity stuff to a number of the animated to big studio animation. So
that's very much the space for people who are into synthesizers. And
exactly,
like that.
And then you got somebody like Michael Lemon-Boddicker, who's co-founder with Mike Learmonth, and both are just passionate keyboard players. And Mike's pretty much wrote the book on keyboards, Hollywood, and all his Michael Jackson stuff, and so that's really cool stuff.
Right, totally.
We're going to go ahead and close out. Hopefully we're going to come back around in a year from now, not take 3 years to do this.
Right, sure.
What do you want to share with the listeners right now, Jordan? What do you want them to leave this interview with? And and definitely, I think you mentioned you're going to be going out on tour. So go see Jordan. Join his Patreon. Can you give me do you have the Patreon URL, or just go to Patreon and look?
I think it's jordanrudess.com/Patreon. Patreon, but it's easy to find.
Oh, yeah. If you look there, you're all over the internet.
Yeah. I guess to leave everybody with, music is just so important, and, following through on what you're passionate about, I just think is the secret of life, and there's probably not a day that goes by that I don't appreciate that, and also feel kind of the desire to like share that, just almost like create a resonance with people around the beauty of music, and just even in trying to find a tuning between maybe what I project musically and what, and what I get back. So, it's just something to really think about, So, and then beyond that, come and see us with Dream Theater. We're going to be touring Europe. We're going to be touring in the States. Hopefully get over back to Asia and do a bunch of things. And looking forward to continuing the flow of all of that. Well,
sir, it's always a great pleasure.
Awesome.
Like I said, you are just the consummate personality that I enjoy meeting in this industry. Because you're super personable. And folks, stay tuned. We're going to have more podcasts here at Synthplex 2022. My name is Florentino Buenaventura. I'm here with Jordan Rudess. Also, check out the GeoShred. It's an iOS app, and it's a fun instrument. And with that said, we are out of here.
Okay.